भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमः। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। The class somebody like to reflect first class.
Should I try, Prabhuji?
Yes, no.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, if it's late, then we can skip the recap and you can start so that we can
No,
get to.
you can do the recap. No.
Okay, so the parents of Sri Krishna feared this is 10.3.24. So the parents of Sri Krishna feared Kamsa's intention, but when Mother Devaki noticed the child who displayed the symptoms of Supreme Lord himself, Mother Devaki offered these prayers and abandoned fear. In this verse, she is establishing that her son is none other than Vishnu, who has completely transcendental body. Vedas say that this form is unmanifest, original cause, Brahman, self-luminous, beyond the material qualities, pure existence, without any attributes, without any transformation, without any actions. So she concludes it that is you, who Vishnu himself, who's the flame of spiritual truth. Sridhar Swami explains in Bhavata Dipika that Mother Devaki says form of Vishnu is as same as reality described in the Vedas, and the word used is prahuhu. Right? Prahuhu, is it the right pronunciation?
Rahu, yes.
Yes. So in this verse, then Mother Devaki very expertly refutes the opinions of different philosophers. For example, certain logicians would say that atoms are both unmanifest and cause of the universe. So does it mean that the Lord's form is atomic? Mother Devaki refutes it by saying it is immense, and as atoms do not have the quality of Brahman. So is Mother Devaki talking about Pradhan? So Pradhan, which is also Adya, Avyakta, and Brahman. So according to the Sankhya philosophy, they say Brahman is the cause of, Pradhan is the cause of universe. But Mother Devaki refutes, saying that the form is Jyoti, self-luminous, conscious, Chetna, and since Pradhan does not have conscious, it is consciousness, it's inert. So she could not be referring to that. So like that, she goes to many things, and like she says, Mother Devaki says its form is Nirguna. When it comes to, when they say that his form is identical to the Ishwar of Vaisheshikas, who consider Atma conscious merely due to contact of with the knowledge present in the material guna. So that to that Mother Devaki says it's Nirguna, the Lord's form is free from material gunas. So in this way, Mother Devaki talks about Lord's form, which is Nirvikar, Satta Matra, pure existence, does not depend on anything else. Nirvishesha, without any division, Niriha. The Lord is exactly like the magnet that moves a piece of iron but remains still. Lord produces an effect without undergoing the change. Firstly, Mother Devaki says you are Shakshat, directly perceivable. Finally, sorry, not firstly. Finally, Mother Devaki says you are Shakshat, directly perceivable. Lord is Adhyatma Deepa, everything is illumined by his radiance. 22.10. The import is that he's controller of everyone's senses, mind, and body. Thus, there is no reason to fear Kamsa. Verse explains that the Lord's form is completely transcendental and beyond the conceptions of the philosophers such as Nayayikas, Shaktas, and Mimansakas. The verse exclusively describes the body of the Lord and not the various absolute realities imagined by the different school of philosophical systems. So Sridhar Swami adds that this verse specifically draws attention to the form of the Lord, since it comes in context of Krishna's birth. There is no question of someone taking birth without having a form. So this verse explains how Lord's form is transcendental. 4.8.44, Srila Jeev Goswami quotes a verse from Padma Puran spoken by Srila Vyasadeva, who is undergoing severe penances to please the Lord. How when the Lord gives darshan in his mind, Srila Vyasadeva desired to see the form of the Lord with his own eyes, which is described as Satyam Param Brahma mentioned in the Upanishad. So this is consistent with the verse by Mother Devaki, who also says that the Lord's form is described in the Vedas as Avyakta, Nirvishesha, and so on. Therefore, it is established without doubt that Sri Krishna's body is self-luminous and transcendental to the gunas of the nature. It is the absolute reality and reconciles with all the apparent contradictory statement of the Vedas. And then 55th Anuccheda is Srila Jiva Goswami will show that the partial expansions of Sri Krishna have the same qualities as him. In this regard, he refers to Sri Brahma's experience from Brahma Vihom and Leela. And so Sridhar Swami comments, although they are all individual forms, their constitutions is without distinction. As the verse says, they are embodiments of one absolute essence. Their forms are of nature of unalloyed being, Satya, consciousness, Gnana Rupa, infinity, Ananta, blissful, Ananda Rupa. Nothing in their constitution which is foreign to them. They remain in single form, Ekarasa, Vijatiya, Sambheda, Rahita. Lord's form Lord's form are the personification of Brahman, uniformly unlimited, blissful, immutable, eternal, and conscious. So these forms are so special that they cannot be even seen by the eyes of Upanishads. The glory of these, which cannot be perceived by Jnanis, all these forms are seen by Brahma, which with the above mentioned qualities, matra word is used. Matra means alone. The color and all other attributes are completely spiritual. One may refer to the word murti in the shloka as impersonal Brahman. Here, Jeev Goswami says that neither Shukdev Goswami and Sridhar Swami could have intended the word murti as formless self or something else. Also, it would contradict the experience of four Kumaras, who says as a result of their trance they could see him with their eyes. Sri Shukdev Goswami's experience, as described in the verse 12.12.68, who directly experiences the form of the Lord. So this means that it refers to the personal form only. And then the three shlokas, the other statements such as he's the embodiment of pure consciousness, 10.37.23, who is pure knowledge personified, 10.27.11, and in you, whose body is full of bliss and knowledge, eternally, 10.14.22. These should be distorted by applying the second meaning, such as Brahman. So if we had intended Murti as impersonal, then all these other shlokas would have secondary meaning. So that is the way one will have to interpret, And then yourself mentioned about this woman of Mathura who had vision of Krishna's a form of unlimited bliss. Ananda Murti, similarly, Kubja embraced her lover, that is Srimad Bhagavatam 10.48.7, and Vara Puran, Mahavara Puran. All the forms are never product of material nature. Forms are fluid mass of highly concentrated supreme bliss, purely conscious in nature. The dualism of body and embodied does not exist in the Lord.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for summarizing 54th and 55th Anuccheda.
Prabhuji, is it okay to just ask one small doubt? Is it okay? I'm so sorry. Yeah. So Prabhuji, just one thing, this Guru Shu Naramati and Guru Laghava means the same thing, Prabhuji?
Yes, same.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yes. So we'll go through the 55th Anuccheda, the commentary, and then we'll go to the 56th Anuccheda. So the 55th anuccheda, the commentary. After explaining that Sri Krishna's form is eternal and transcendental, Srila Jiva Goswami next establishes that all the plenary portions of Sri Krishna, they also are of the same nature. So for that, he is actually referring to Brahma's experience when he saw the expansions of Krishna after he stole the cowherd boys and the cows. So Krishna expanded himself and took not only the exact forms of the stolen cows and cowherd boys, but he became their personalities as well. That means like whatever that particular cowherd boy would have the particular accent, particular style he would have, or particular way he would dress. Krishna also assumed all those features. So when Brahma came after 1 year, after one moment, is equivalent to 1 year here, he saw the pastimes were still going on, and he was completely surprised. So at that time, all the cowherd boys and the cows transformed into the 400 Vishnu forms. And the description of the 400 Vishnu forms, that verse is quoted by Jiva Goswami here, 10.3.46 to 55. Yeah, one of the verses is quoted. So in the event that somebody may think that these forms were magical creations, they were only to bewilder or befuddle Brahma's intelligence, one may say like that. They are not just simply some magical illusory forms. But then the description of the form says that Satya, these forms were not magical creation, they were real forms. And the verse says that Satya Jnana, Satya Jnana Ananta. Jnana, these forms were full of consciousness, Jnana. Ananta Ananda, they were full of unlimited bliss. Satya Jnana Anantananda Matraika Rasamurtayaha. The word Matra is mentioned. So Ananda Matra signifies that the Murtis of Vishnu were not tinged by matter. They were simply composed of Satya Jnana Ananda Matra. They were fully conscious and unlimited, Ananta. Eka Rasamurtayaha. That means they were beyond the influence of time, remaining eternally the same one form. And Brahma saw unlimited Vishnu forms, and each form was also unlimited Vishnu forms, and each form was also unlimited. They were not some liberated living entities because Brahma saw the Srivatsa mark on each of those forms. That is clearly mentioned in the 48th shloka, Srivatsa mark. And although there were unlimited forms, they were all one with Krishna. The Advaya Tattva, Vadanti Tat Tattva Vida Tattvam Yadgyanam Advayam. They were all one with Krishna, who is free from duality. And these forms were not different from each other in the way that one table is different from another. That is why it is mentioned that Vijatiya Sambeda Rahita. The Sajatiya Beda and Vijatiya Beda. Sajatiya Beda is that the difference between two entities which belong to the same jati. There are two tables, both belong to the same jati called as table. but one table is different from the another table. And there is a table and a chair, both belong to the different jati, and they are different from each other. And that is a vijatiya bhed. The difference between the entity which belongs to one jati and the difference between one entity of one jati and the another entity of another jati. That is vijatiya bhed. So these Vishnu forms were not different from each other in the way that one table is different from another. All the Vishnu forms, in the case of the different tables, although they belong to the same jati, but they are different from each other. But in this case, all these Vishnu forms, they belong to the same jati of Vishnu Tattva and they are not different from each other. So Krishna, so they are not different from each other, but at the same time, Brahmaji saw the different forms. So therefore, Krishna gave a practical demonstration of Achintya Beda Beda. How they were simultaneously one and different. In the Brahma Vimohan Lila, Krishna gave a practical demonstration. So the Lord is one, yet still by his Achintya Shakti or inconceivable power, he manifests as many. Therefore, the verse states that the glory of these forms was beyond the reach of even of the knowers of the self who see through the eyes of the Upanishads. That is why the verse says what? Asprushta Bhuri Mahatmya Api Upanishad Drisham. Their infinite glory was certainly untouched even by those who are blessed with the vision of the Upanishads. The Upanishad described the Absolute as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Anandam Brahmano Vidwan. So from statements such as these, scholars of non-theistic persuasion assume that the Absolute has no form. But the verse very clearly says, Satya Jnana Ananta Ananda Matraika Rasa Murtayaha. Murtayaha, that the Lord's forms are Satya Jnana Ananta and Ananda Matra. So this is the beyond the conception of such scholars because Krishna can be understood only through the conscious potency of the bliss inherent in his own essential being. And that potency is what is meant by unalloyed devotion. So therefore the Shrutis also declare. There is a verse from the I think Kena Upanishad. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo na bedaya na bahuna shrutena yam evesha vrunasve tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vivrinate tanum swam. The Upanishads say that the Supreme Lord cannot be attained by mere study of the Vedas or through intellect or by hearing. Only one who is blessed by the Lord can attain him, and only to such a person does the Lord reveal his form. So the word Murti should not be interpreted to mean the Atma or the Brahman, because Brahma saw these forms with his own eyes. In the case of the Brahman, Brahman has no attributes, and therefore Brahman cannot be seen. But Brahma saw these forms, so therefore the Murti cannot be interpreted to refer to the impersonal Brahman. So according to the Amarakosha dictionary, Murti means body or solidity. Murti Katinya Kaya Yoho. So Advaitavadis proposed that these forms were bodies of the Brahman, solidified Brahman, appearing in Vishnu forms. Such a meaning does not suit the context and is also contrary to logic, because Brahman has no manifest qualities and therefore can neither accept form nor become solidified. So according to Advaitavada itself, Brahman cannot be named because the act of naming introduces a plurality. the name, its meaning, and the object referred to amount referred to amount to three different entities: name, meaning, and the object referred. So the Sanskrit logicians state that it is improper to imagine some uncommon secondary meaning when the commonly held primary meaning fits the context. So when the primary meaning is understandable, when it is fitting the context, then one should not unnecessarily come up with a secondary meaning. Sati prasiddherte prasiddhartha kalpanam anyayam. So suppose if a person conceives the secondary meaning by taking the meaning of the word murti to refer to the impersonal Brahman, it would result in, it would be an instance of abstruse exercise of imagination. Lakshanayaha kashta kalpana mayatvat. It is a too much gymnastic or abstruse exercise of imagination. And moreover, such an explanation is neither supported by Sridhar Swami nor by Shukdev Goswami. And it does not correspond to Brahma's experience. So Jiva Goswami refers to the experience of the Kumaras. He will also, this will be Kumara's experience, the third canto, 15th chapter. That will also be discussed in great detail, the Bhagavad Sandarbha later in the 90th anuccheda. And Jiva Goswami also cites the example of Shukdev Goswami, who was a living liberated being, but he became a devotee simply by hearing the verses of the Bhagavatam. And Kumaras also, they were Brahman realized. They were absorbed in the impersonal Brahman, but how they became attracted to the personal absolute. So these examples will also be, these examples are also cited. So therefore, if Krishna's body were material, or if Krishna's body were inferior to Brahman, then why would Shukdev Goswami or the four Kumaras, why would they get attracted to devotional service? Because they were already Brahman realized. Generally, a person does not give up a superior thing in order to take up some inferior thing. One will give up something only in order to obtain something superior. The person is getting some dry roti sabji, but somebody else is offering some hot puri, kachori and gajar halwa. Then he will give up the dry roti sabji to take up some hot puri. Not that one will give up the hot puri to take up some dry roti sabji. So therefore, Jiva Goswami offers various also references of the Bhagavatam that describe Krishna Swami as purely transcendental, and Brahma realized this for himself when he saw the Lord's expansions. So therefore, Bhagavatam says 13.55 Evam Sakrit Dadarshaja Parab Brahmatmano Kilan Yasya Bhasa Sarvamidam Vibhati Sa Characharam. So, for a moment, the unborn Brahma beheld all these aspects of the Supreme Brahman, the self of all, by whose effulgence this entire universe of moving and non-moving creatures is revealed. So, in other words, Brahma saw that all the cows and boys were simultaneously non-different to the Supreme Lord. Now, this is the 55th Anucheda. In this Anucheda, Jiva Goswami says that even the different amshas of Krishna, even the plenary portions of Krishna, they are also eternal and transcendental. That is the 55th Anucheda. Just one second. We will go to the 56th anuccheda.
Haribol,
Hare Krishna.
can you enlighten us a little about the plenary and partial expansions?
Plenary expansion, say Amsha and Kala. I don't know the exact technical definition, but
Yeah, because
what I
sometimes
understand is that when the Krishna manifests certain limited powers, then it is called as Amsha. And he
Amsha, yes.
manifests limited opulences, that is called as Amsha.
Yes, many times I get confused with this plenary and partial.
I'll post it in the group. Amsha and Kala, what is the exact? Sometimes in English we may not be able to get the exact meaning. With the Sanskrit words, I'll post it. In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, it is there.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
With the proper reference, I'll post it. So 56th Anucheda. Ittameva abhipretyaha. So with the same very intent, Shukdev Goswami is speaking. Ittameva abhipretyaha. Now he is quoting from the same Brahma Vimohan Leela from the 10th canto, 14th chapter. Krishnamenam avehitvam atmanam akhilatmanam jagadhitaya sopyatra dehi vabhati mayaya. So Shukdev Goswami says, you should know that this Krishna to be the self of all the selves. Krishnam evam avehitvam tvam. This Shukdev Goswami is speaking at the description of at the end of the description of Brahma Vimohan Atmanam Akilatmana. He is the self of all the selves. Jagat Hitaya. Jagat Hitaya by Sandhi it has become Jagat Hitaya. For the benefit of the world. He appears Dehi Iva. Dehi means embodied. Dehi Iva means he appears like an embodied being. He appears like an embodied being for the benefit of the world by Maya, by the influence of his Maya potency. Yenam Naumidya Tebra Vapushe Ityadi Varnita Rupam. So here the word Yenam, Krishnam, Yenam Avehitvam. Yenam refers to the description of Krishna in shlokas. Brahmaji began his prayer by this particular shloka, 10.14.1. Naumidya Tebra Vapushe Tadidambaraya. Shloka. Naumidya Tedya. Naumidya Tebra Vapushe Tadidambaraya. Gunjavatamsa Paripicha Lasan Mukaya. Vanyasraje Kavalavetra Vitana Venu. Lakshmasraje Mridupade Pashupankajaya. Lakshmashriye Mridupade Pashupankajaya. So the word Yenam refers to the descriptions of Krishna described in verses such as this. So the 10.14.1, what is the translation? I bow down to you, O worshipable one, who are the son of the cowherd Nanda, with soft feet, a cloud complexioned body, and lightning colored clothes. And your beautiful face is effulgently framed with earrings made of gunja berries. You wear a garland of forest flowers, and you look so sweet, holding yogurt and fruits in one hand, a flute, horn, and a prodding stick in the other. So Krishnam Yenam, Krishnam, the word pronoun Yenam refers to the description of Krishna as described in verses like this. And then further, Avehi, Krishnam Yenam Avehitvam. Avehi means no. Avehi mat prasada labda vidvat taya eva anubhava natu tarkadina vicharayet ityartaha. So that means Shukadeva Goswami is advising Parikshit Maharaj to experience the form of Krishna exclusively through the knowledge that arises out of the Shukadeva Goswami's mercy, and not the knowledge which is arrived through logical analysis or rational deliberation. So avehi, this word is signifying that you should understand this form only through the knowledge which is coming from my mercy. Evam bhutopi mayaya kripaya jagat hitaya sarvasyapi swa atmanam prati chitta akarshanaaya dehi iva jiva iva abati kridati. Although Krishna Swam, evam bhutopi, although Krishna Swam is such as described by Brahma, which is completely transcendental, still mayaya, mayaya means kripaya, by his mercy. By his mercy, jagat hitaya, for the benefit of the world. And for the benefit of the world, what is the benefit of the world? Sarvasyapi swatmanam prati chitta akarshanaya. In order to attract all the living entities in this world towards himself, towards him. That is the real benefit to the people in this world. And for that sake, Dehi Iva, Krishna performs pastimes like a living entity. Iva Shabdena Shri Krishnastu na Jivavat Prutak Deham Pravishtavan iti cha gamyate. So the Dehi Iva word is used. The Iva word implies that similarity only and not identity. Krishna is not identical to Jiva. He appears like an embodied Jiva. That means that Krishna has not entered into a, in the case of a living entity has entered into a body which is different from the Atma, Prutak Deham. But in the case of Krishna, Krishna has not entered into a body which is different from himself. Na jivavat prutak deham pravishtavan iti cha gamyate. Atayeva Shri Vigrahasya Parama Purushartha Lakshanatva Muktam Shri Dhruvena. So therefore, Dhruva Maharaj in his concluding prayer, he says that to attain the form of the Lord, that is the highest Parama Purushartha. That the form of the Lord meets the criteria of being the ultimate end, Parama Purushartha, of all that can be ever be aspired for. The form of the Lord is the highest Purushartha, higher than the moksha. Mahaprabhu says that the highest Purushartha is the Prema, Panchama Purushartha. Dhruva Maharaj says that the Parama Purushartha is the transcendental form of the Lord. So where does he say? 4.9.17, the last prayer of Dhruva Maharaj. Satyashisho hi bhagavams tava pada padma ashis tatanu bhajata Purusharthamurte Apyeva Maria Bhagavan Paripati Deenan Vashreva Vatsakamanugraha Katarosman. The Dhruva Maharaj says that, O Supreme Lord, you are the bestower of Satya Ashisha, the true blessings. And Satyashishoki Bhagavam Stavapada Padma Ashis Tatanu Bhajata Purushartha Murtehe. Your form is the supreme of all that is to be attained. And your lotus feet are the highest blessing for those who worship you constantly. Tava Pada Padma Ashis Tatanu Bhajata Purushartha Murte. And then Jiva Goswami is quoting the Sridhar Swami's Tika to this particular shloka. Atra Tika cha. He Bhagavan. Purushartha Paramanandaha Sayeva Murtir Yasya Tasya Tava Pada Padma. Purushartha Paramanandaha Sayeva Murtir Yasya Tasya Tava Pada Padma. O Lord, the ultimate end of all that is to be aspired for is the supreme bliss. The ultimate end of all that is to be aspired for the supreme bliss. And your form is that supreme bliss. Tava Pada Padma. Ashisho Rajyadehe Sakashat Satya. Therefore, attaining your lotus feet is a true blessing. It is a true blessing. That means the supreme attainment. Certainly, attaining your lotus feet, the supreme attainment, much more than Rajyadehe Sakashat, much higher than getting a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. Dhruva Maharaj began his devotional service with the intention to get a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. But in his concluding prayer, he is actually very clearly mentioning the highest attainment is actually attaining your form, attaining a service to your form. Your form is the supreme bliss. And this is actually higher than attaining all the kingdom. So, Ashihi Paramartha Phalam hi Nishchitam. Kasya Tata Tena Prakarena Tvameva Purushartha Ityevam Nishkamataya Anubhajataha Ityesha Sri Shukaha. So the supreme attainment, your form is the supreme attainment, certainly much more so than receiving the kingdom and so on. Kasya, for whom? For those who perpetually worship you without any tinge of material desires, considering you in this way as the ultimate end of aspiration. For those who perpetually worship you without any tinge of material desires. Tena prakarena tvameva purushartha ityevam nishkamataya anubhajataha. Nishkamataya means without any tinge of material desire. So for them, attaining you is the highest goal, ultimate end of aspiration. So I'll go through the commentary. So Krishna's form is supremely transcendental and the topmost repository of love. Ultimately, everybody is searching for love only. And because Krishna's form is the supreme repository of love, he is the ultimate end of all that is to be attained. And this was demonstrated in the Brahma Vimohan Leela. So Krishna expanded to himself to perfectly replace each and every one of those cows and cowherd boys. The unborn Lord took the forms of every one of the boys and cows, even the smallest of them, with the exact same hands, feet, and other physical features, carrying the exact same sticks, horns, flutes, and lunch bags, the same clothes and ornaments, the same personalities, qualities, appearance, and age, and the same activities and gestures as if to show the truth of the statement that Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. Everything in the universe is nothing but the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Vishnu. Therefore, the Brahma Vimohan Leela demonstrates that Upanishad Vakya Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. So in Krishna Leela, all the Vedanta Sutra conclusions and the Upanishad Vakyas are included within the Krishna Leela. But when you read the Vedanta Sutra or the Upanishad Vakya, there you cannot find the Krishna Leela. But in Krishna Leela, all these Vedanta Sutras are included. In the sense, Krishna Leela is all inclusive. Sometimes one may say that, oh, I want to read the Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads. There's no problem in reading Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads. But if you are thinking that Vedanta Sutra is something superior to Krishna Leela, then there is a incomplete, wrong understanding. Because in Krishna Leela, Vedanta Sutra is there. Like for example, here Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. This Upanishad statement is there in the Krishna Leela. But in the Upanishads or Vedanta Sutra, you can't find the Krishna Leela. And only the Siddhanta is there. So therefore, this one, what is the shloka? Yeah, see, Sarvam Vishnumayam Girongavat Ajas Sarva Swarupo Babau. So this Brahma Vimohan Leela demonstrates this Upanishad statement, Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. The love that the older gopis and the cows felt towards the expansions of Krishna, posing as their offspring, kept increasing in intensity. At the same time, the gopis loved their sons in exactly the same way they would love Krishna. Even though they were unaware that it was Krishna who was present before them in those forms. Mentioned in the Bhagavatam 10.13.26. Even Balramji was not aware of this because Balramji was also covered by the Yoga Maya. But just before the completion of 1 year, few days before that, Balramji one day saw that how the cows had a greater love towards the elder calves than the younger calves. Usually the cows would have a more affection towards the younger calves, but Balramji noticed that cows have greater love towards the elder calves. And Balramji also saw the affection of the cowherd men towards their children. So when he saw that, he was astonished, although he was not aware of the actual situation because he had been absent on the day when Brahma stole the cows and cowherd boys. So when Parishit Maharaj heard this, Parishit Maharaj asked a question to Shukadeva Goswami. Please explain how the cowherd women could have had so much love for Krishna who was somebody else's child. They never felt such love even for their own children. So in reply to this question asked by Parishit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami speaking that shloka is quoted, that shloka is the main shloka of this anuccheda. In order to introduce this shloka, this background is given. What is that shloka? Is that Krishna Menam Avehitvam. So Shukadeva Goswami responded to the Parishit Maharaj's question in 7 verses. He began by explaining that everybody loves themselves above everyone else. And everybody loves other beings or objects only because they are somehow pleasing to the Atma. People who are identified with the body self love their own body because they mistake the body to be the Atma. And they do not love anything else to the degree they love their own bodies. Yajnavalkya also confirms this while instructing Maitreyi. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, this statement is important. Sahovacha nava are patyuk kamaya pati priyo bhavati atmanastu kamaya pati priyo bhavati. Yajnavalkya says that it is not for the sake of the husband, my dear, that the husband is loved, but for the sake of the self that he is loved. So therefore, those whose self-concept is tied to the body, that means those who mistake the body as the self, they love the body not for the body, but because it is what they believe the self to be. So everybody loves the self Atma, and when they show their love towards somebody else or some other thing, it is because that particular person or the entity is connected to the self. So therefore, in spite of their attachment to the body, the real affection is for the Atma. Whatever they take that to be at any particular phase of development. So the real attachment is for the Atma, but they are mistaking the Atma to be the body. So when the body grows old and decays, they still continue to live long. So therefore, it is thus the true self that is most dear to every living being. Although the body is growing and decaying, but still they still continue to desire life. That means it is the true self that is most dear to every living being. So everyone views the entire world as existing for the sake of their own self. Therefore, in the Udyoga Parva, Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to disown Duryodhana in the interest of realizing his true self. Ultimately, the self is actually dear to everyone. That is only most dear to everyone. So, for your own self-interest, you actually give up Duryodhana. So, Vidura says this. Tyajet kulartam purusham gramasyarte kulam tyajet gramam janapadasyarte atmarte prithivim tyajet. So he says that one may give up a family member to save the family and abandon a family for the sake of a village. And you can renounce a village for the sake of the nation, but one must be prepared to sacrifice the entire earth for the sake of the self. Therefore, you give up Duryodhan for the sake of yourself. So first Shukdev Goswami, in answer to the question of Parishit Maharaj, first he establishes that the self is the most dear to everyone. So after establishing this fact, then Shukdev Goswami speaks the particular verse which is quoted here. And he says that Krishna is the self of all the Atmas. The verse is what it says. Krishnam avehi tvam atmanam akhilatmanam. Atmanam akhilatmanam. He is the self of all the selves. In other words, Krishna is the source of the self, which is itself the most dear. And therefore, he is the dearest of the dear and the ultimate repository from which and toward which the love flows. And the living entity is nothing but the part and parcel of Krishna, Mamaivamsho Jiva Loki, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So Krishna is like the sun, and the living entity is compared to the sun's ray. So when the people in general love other beings or objects only in relation to the self, the liberated devotees go a step further. They say that even the self is loved only for the sake of the Supreme Self, which is to say that they love Krishna more than the self. And Vishnu also instructed Brahma. So there's a verse in the 3rd canto, 9th chapter. So the conditioned living beings, they love different relationships in this world. They love different objects in this world, house or property, because they are all related to the self. And they are identifying the self to be the body. because they see the different bodily relationships are related to the body and the different properties are related to the body. Therefore, they love them because they are all related to the body, which they mistake to be the self. But the liberated living beings, they go step further. They uh, they perceive that the self is loved only for the sake of the supreme self. That means the self is loved only for the sake of the supreme self, because the supreme self is the source of all the atmas. So liberated souls understand that you love the atma because the atma is part and parcel of the supreme atma, that is the Bhagavan. So therefore, they offer more love to the Bhagavan than to their own atma. And Vishnu is mentioning that in his instructions to Brahma. So this is a very beautiful verse, 3.9.42. Aham atmatmanam dhata preshta san preyasam api ato mai ratim kuryad dehadir yatkrute priyaha. What is the meaning? O creator of the world, I am the self of every self and the dearest of all that is beloved. Therefore, love is meant only for me, on account of whom the body and everything else are dear. So when we talk about the concept of love, ultimately the concept of love is only for Krishna. In every other relation, it is basically a duty actually. It's basically a duty, but ultimately the concept of love is only for the Bhagavan. And of course, pure devotees, the devotees of Bhagavan, the Guru, the devotees, and Krishna. The residents of Vrindavan were naturally filled with the inherent love for Krishna. And therefore, they loved Krishna more than their own selves, typifying the teaching from the above verse. Therefore, when Krishna came to them in the form of their own sons, they naturally loved them just as they loved Krishna. So their love for Krishna was superior to the love they felt for their own offspring. And that was the same case with the case of the cows also. The cows loved Krishna more than their own cows. But neither the gopis nor the cows knew that it was in fact Krishna who had come as their child. But still their love increased because their love for Krishna is causeless and unobstructed, which is the epitome of Uttama Bhakti. They had their inherent love developed. So therefore, even without knowing that cows and the cowherd boy is Krishna, they loved them like Krishna. And therefore, Uddhava was struck with wonder when he saw the love the gopis had for Krishna. And Uddhava glorified the love of the gopis in the following manner. Very beautiful shloka. Yeta param tanubhruto bhuvi gopavadvo govinda eva nikhilatmani ruda bhava vanchanti yat bhavabhiyo munayo vayam cha kim brahma janmabhirananta katha rasasya. So Uddhava says that these cowherd women have justified their human bodies on the earth because they have achieved the most elevated feelings of love for Govinda, the self of the unlimited creation. And this is something aspired for by the sages who view the material existence with fear. And this is something aspired by ourselves as well. Oh, what need is there for a life as long as that of Brahma, for one who is immersed in the infinite joy of hearing about the Lord? So Uddhava is also glorifying the gopis' love. So therefore, Krishnam Yenam, the demonstrative pronoun Yenam in the shloka refers to Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, as he was described by Brahma in the beginning of his prayer. Naumidya Tebra Vapushe Tadidambaraya. So Krishna manifests supreme beauty and the sweetness in Vrindavan. So when while describing Brahma's vision, Shukdev Goswami was simultaneously blessing Parishit Maharaj that he also can realize the form of Krishna as seen by Brahma. So that is why Shukdev Goswami is saying that Krishnam Avehi. Avehi means by my mercy, you can also realize this form. You cannot realize this form by simple, logical, rational deliberation. So in the womb of the mother, Parishit Maharaj had seen the 400 form of Krishna. Now Shukdev Goswami says that now by the mercy of me, you can behold the most beautiful form of Krishna, the Vrindavan form of Krishna. So indirectly, Shukdev Goswami is blessing any serious student of Bhagavatam to be granted this vision of Krishna. Naumidya Tebra Vapushe Tadidambaraya. So in commenting on the shloka, Vishwanath Chakravarti says that that is basically Krishna Menam Avehitvam. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that one loves his or her child because of the relation to the body, which a person mistakes to be the Atma. And one loves the body because of the indwelling self, who is Krishna present in the body. And Krishna is the complete whole, and he expands himself as the Paramatma or the immanent God. Vishtabhyagam idam kritsnam ekamshena stito jagat. Therefore, Krishna is the highest limit of love. One loves the body because of the soul present in the body. One loves the soul because the soul is the part and parcel of the Paramatma. So ultimately, the real object of love is the Paramatma. So Vishwanath Chakravarti further writes that the residents of Vrindavan are completely free from Maya and full of devotion. Therefore, they are naturally endowed with this realization of Krishna. By their very nature, they love Krishna more than their own offspring. So according to Vishwanatha, this means that they do not have to be aware of Krishna as the Supreme Lord, or even as Krishna. They do not even have to be aware that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They do not even have to be aware that this particular child is Krishna. The cows do not have to be aware that this calf is actually Krishna, because they are naturally endowed with that love for Krishna, even without the knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, or even without the knowledge that Krishna has expanded as their child or the cowherd boy. Still they continue to, they do not have to be aware of that. So their love springs forth for him vehemently and unimpeded, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Because that is the one of the characteristic of Uttama Bhakti is what? Savai Pumsam Parodharmo Yato Bhaktir Adokshaje Agaituki Apratihata Yatma Suprasidati. So Apratihata is the one of the characteristic of Uttama Bhakti. Apratihata means it is unimpeded. It cannot be obstructed by anything. So the residents of Vrindavan, they had this Uttama Bhakti because their love for Krishna was unimpeded by the awareness of whether Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Their love for Krishna was unimpeded by the fact that they are unaware of that Krishna has expanded as their child. So this demonstrates the nature of their Uttama Bhakti. So although Krishna is the self of the self, he appears like an embodied being. because he wants to attract the minds of the conditioned souls by performing attractive pastimes. But although he appears like embodied being, one should not think that he has a material body like the Jivatma. Just because he appears hungry or eats like an ordinary boy. The word Iva is important. That means he appears as if an embodied being, but is not so in truth. So according to Vedic logicians, when an object is different from another, but possesses many of its qualities, it is called similar. Is quoting a statement from the, I think, Nyaya Shastra. Tat binnatve sati, tat gatabhuyo, dharmavatvam sadrishyatvam. So one object is different from another, but because it has certain similar characteristics, therefore we say it is a sadrishya. So because Krishna appears to possess the qualities of embodied being, like becoming hungry, etc. So therefore the word Iva is used. The similarity between the Lord and an ordinary boy is that he acts like one. And the word Dehi does not mean that Krishna is distinct from his body, as is the case of the ordinary embodied beings or Dehi. And in this case, the usage is figurative, like a Ahi Kundala Nyaya. Ahi Kundala Nyaya, what is it? The presuming a difference where one does not exist. According to this axiom, even though the coil of a snake constitutes the snake and is not separate from it, it can nonetheless be considered as an attribute of the snake. The coil of the snake, even though the coil of the snake constitutes the snake and is not separate from it, it can nonetheless be considered as an attribute of the snake. So similarly, so too is with Krishna and his body. So therefore, Krishna's body is non-different from him and the supreme of all that is to be attained. So what is explained here is that, so although the word dehi iva abhati, like that it is mentioned. So in the case of a living entity, his body is different from the self. But in the case of Krishna, Krishna's body is not different from the self. So Krishna's body is non-different from him and the supreme of all that is to be attained. Therefore, the Dhruva Maharaj often says in his prayer as Parama Purushartha. Therefore, Dhruva Maharaj says that Satyashi Shoki Bhagavam Stavapada Padmam Ashis Tatanu Bhajata Purushartha Murte. Purushartha Murti, the personification of ultimate attainment. Although Dhruva had approached Krishna in the beginning with a material motive, but after seeing the Lord face to face, he realized that the service to the Lord was superior to any other attainment. So even when the Lord blessed him by offering him the whole world to rule, he was not pleased because he no longer regarded it as worthwhile. That's why when you read 4th canto 9th chapter, after Lord Vishnu offers his benedictions, Maitreya Rishi says that after receiving this benediction, Dhruva Maharaj was unhappy. He was unhappy. And then Vidura immediately asks, why is Dhruva Maharaj unhappy? And then Maitreya Rishi describes very beautiful slokas of the thoughts of Dhruva Maharaj. Because Dhruva Maharaj, he began bhakti with the material motivation, but ultimately the ultimate prayer, the concluding prayer, he said that Purushartha Murti, service to your Sri Vigraha is the ultimate attainment, higher than any Rajya. That is what he concluded. But then the Lord told that you have to rule the kingdom for 36,000 years. And then you will attain Dhruvaloka. And then you will come to Vaikuntha, like that he said. So Dhruva Maharaj did not expect that Lord will choose to fulfill his previous material desire. Therefore, Dhruva Maharaj was lamenting. So in this way, in this anuccheda, the main shloka is that Krishnamenam avehitvam. That is the main shloka. Krishnamenam avehitvam atmanam akhilatmanam jagathitaya sopyatra dehi ivabhati maya. So we discussed what is the background to the shloka, what was the question asked by Parishit Maharaj to Shukdev Goswami, and Shukdev Goswami's answer is explained in 7 shlokas. You can read the entire 7 shlokas, 10th canto, 14th chapter end. And then in those 7 shlokas, this shloka comes. So, Krishnam yenam avehitvam atmanam akilatmana. Know this form of Krishna, who is the self of all the selves. Know this form of Krishna by my mercy. And this Krishna, like an embodied being, he appears in this world out of his mercy for the benefit of the whole world, in order to attract the living entities to him by performing nice pastimes. So, and then Jiva Goswami also quotes the additional shloka to show that how Dhruva Maharaj referred to the form of the Lord as the Purushartha Murti. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions?
Prabhuji, Vachaspati is he is believing in impersonal Brahman, right? Am I right? Vachaspati.
Vachaspati Mishra.
Huh.
Vachaspati Mishra comes in the Advaita Sampradaya.
Prabhuji, is it okay to answer this question? Like, there was a debate between a king and a sage, and he had, and the wife was supposed to be the judge, and he had to actually, the sage had to actually enter the queen's body. So, what was that sage's name, Prabhuji?
I don't know which story he was talking about, but there is a story in the life of Shankaracharya.
Okay.
Shankaracharya debated with Mandan Mishra. And Shankaracharya, the debate condition was that if Mandan Mishra gets defeated, he would become a sannyasi and he would become the disciple of Shankaracharya. Mandan Mishra was the exponent of the Karmakanda philosophy. And Shankaracharya was speaking the Advaita one. And Shankaracharya told who will be the referee of the debate? Mandan Mishra's wife. Mandan Mishra's wife is what is her name? I forget the name. So Mandan Mishra's wife was chosen as the referee by Shankaracharya. So that shows that Shankaracharya had the confidence. Because just imagine, you are the judge in which your husband is participating, and if the husband gets defeated, he would become sannyas. He would take sannyas. So naturally, usually a wife would favor the husband. Even if the husband gets defeated, she would declare that, oh, he is not defeated. But Shankaracharya had such confidence that Mandan Mishra's wife would be more loyal to Dharma than to the relation. It's like Mandodari was more loyal to Dharma than to. She maintained the relationship with Ravana, but her loyalty towards Dharma was higher than the relationship. That is why the women like Mandodari, they are called as the Pratas Smaraniya. One should remember them as soon as one gets up in the morning. So this Mandan Mishra's wife became the referee. And then as the debate progressed, Usually when a person feels that he is getting defeated and that there will be a feeling of anger which comes. And because of the feeling of the anger, the body heat will increase. And because of the body heat, the garland which is put on their body, that starts fading. So they could notice that Mandan Mishra's garland started fading. And then when he was about to get defeated, then Mandan Mishra's wife told that, now you have to debate with me. And now you have to debate with me on the topic of Shringara Rasa. Such a difficult topic because Shankaracharya was a sannyasi. He had no experience of a Shringara Rasa because he became a sannyasi directly as from a brahmachari ashram. She said, you have to debate me with the Shringara Rasa topic. And then Shankaracharya said, okay, give me some time. Then Shankaracharya, he wanted to experience the Shringara Rasa. He wanted to understand the Shringara Rasa. Therefore, at that time, there was a king or somebody who had died. Before his body was going to be cremated, he entered into the body of the king's body, and then king came back alive, and then Shankaracharya lived in the body of a king as a family man and understood what is the Shringara Rasa. Then after some time, then he came out of that body. Then he debated with Mandan Mishra's wife. I forget the name. And then debated.
Udaya Bharti. Her name is Udaya Bharti.
Uday Bharati defeated her in Shringara, the topic of Shringara. It is also said that Mandan Mishra was the incarnation of Brahma. And this, I think, Uday Bharati is the incarnation of Saraswati. Shankaracharya is the incarnation of Lord Shiva, Amsha of Lord Shiva.
But he did not cheat the wife. In the king's body, he told her, right, that I am Shankaracharya in the king's body. He did not cheat the wife, the queen.
Those details are not mentioned. Shankaracharya, definitely exalted person. It is just it's told that in order to understand Shringara Rasa, he entered the body. It cannot be imitated by any ordinary person. Shankaracharya could do that.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much for your patient attention.